Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're focusing on a really powerful passage from Luke 17. It feels almost like a guide, for dealing with the tough stuff, disappointment, conflict in basically any group.
Yeah.
Family, work, church, anywhere people are together.
Absolutely. And our mission today really is to accept something fundamental. Perfect community. It doesn't exist. These ancient words aren't about running away from problems, but finding, that tricky mix of grace and humility you need when things inevitably get messy.
Yeah, when that illusion of perfection shatters.
Exactly.
So let's start with this unavoidable truth Jesus lays out. Stumbling blocks, conflicts, they will happen. The original Greek is even stronger, isn't it? Like, scandals are impossible not to come.
That's right. Impossible. And what's striking is how serious the warning is for anyone who causes these stumbles, especially for the little ones mentioned.
How serious are we talking?
We're talking about a penalty described as worse than being tossed into the sea with a giant millstone around your neck. I mean, it's incredibly vivid. It's a huge warning against hypocrisy, basically, causing someone to stumble. It just means your words and actions don't line up. You say one thing, do another.
Okay, that's a heavy responsibility, especially for leaders. But what about the flip side? If conflict is inevitable, what about the person who gets hurt? The text says if someone sins against you, you confront them.
Yes, you address it directly. And this is the key part. If they genuinely repent, show remorse, you must forgive them.
Must forgive.
Okay.
But then comes that standard 7 times in a day. What does that even mean? It sounds impossible.
It does sound impossible. And 7 here isn't meant literally, like keeping a tally. It signifies completeness, constancy, forgive. Always.
Yeah.
And you can't just grit your teeth and do that through sheer willpower. It only really becomes possible, I think, when you deeply understand your own need for grace, like the Apostle Paul calling himself the chief of sinners.
Right. You see yourself as forgiven, so you can forgive.
You see yourself as fundamentally unworthy of the grace you've received, and that somehow frees you up to offer it, even when it's incredibly hard.
Wait, let's pause there for a second. Because that sounds, I don't know, almost like enabling bad behavior if someone keeps messing up and expects forgiveness constantly. How do you balance that radical command with, just getting worn down by it all?
That's a fair question, and I think the answer lies in shifting how we even view the community itself. This leads to that powerful metaphor the sources give us. The community isn't a courthouse. It's a hospital.
Okay, I like that. A hospital, not a courthouse. That changes the picture immediately.
It really does. In a hospital, everyone is a patient, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's a sinner, needing the doctor, needing God. And believers, we're kind of like the nurses. But what happens if a nurse doesn't practice basic hygiene, doesn't wash their hands? They can make the patient sicker.
They become a stumbling block.
Exactly. Practicing grace and humility is like washing our hands. It keeps us from contaminating others. We serve knowing we're patients too, just maybe a bit further along in recovery.
Okay, so forgiveness is demanding. The community's a hospital.
Right.
It makes sense then that the disciples basically said, we need more faith for all this.
Right. It's a natural reaction. And Jesus gives the mustard seed analogy. Even tiny faith is enough.
But enough for what? What does that tiny faith do?
See, the crucial point isn't the size of your faith. It's the source of the power it connects to.
Okay.
Think of your faith like an electric wire. It doesn't matter if it's thick or thin. What matters is that it's plugged into the power station, into God. That's where the power comes from, not the wire itself.
Got it. So it's about connection, not quantity. And how does humility fit in? There's that teaching about the unprofitable servant.
Yes, that's key. Because if we serve, if we do good things, expecting praise or some kind of repayment, well, what happens when we don't get it?
Resentment.
Precisely. Jesus cuts that off right away. He says, look, whatever good you do, that's just your duty as a servant. You serve humbly. God doesn't owe you anything for doing what you're supposed to do.
It prevents that whole cycle of expectation and disappointment.
It does. And we saw this play out with someone we knew, Darren. He'd served faithfully for 15 years in this growing community, saw some really difficult things, injustices, felt hurt by leadership. Had every reason to be bitter, honestly.
Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for burnout or leaving entirely.
For sure. But he had this realization. He saw he'd put his hope, his expectation for perfection onto imperfect people. Leaders who, he realized, were just like him.
Also, patients in the hospital.
Exactly. Unworthy, needing grace just as much as he did. He'd been looking for something from people that only God could provide. Letting go of that ideal of a perfect community run by perfect people was actually what started his healing. He stopped expecting repayment, you could say.
That makes so much sense. It connects everything back.
So wrapping up this deep dive, The challenges, the stumbling blocks, they're real, they're guaranteed. But the response, this constant forgiveness, this humble service, isn't a contradiction. It's the necessary path through it. One's the warning, the other's the medicine.
So the big takeaway for you listening isn't just about forgiving others when they mess up, though that's huge. It's also about your own healing. It's about letting go of that dream of a perfect community. Because, well, embracing the messy, grace-filled reality is where growth happens. We're all patients together.
Well said.
So here's a final thought to chew on. You've probably been hurt or stumbled by others in community. We all have. But thinking about that severe millstone warning, what's one practical thing you can do today, right now, to make sure you aren't being a stumbling block for someone else?